Guys, it's Monday. Not only is it Victory Monday, it's also Mock Draft Monday. And this is when we talk about who the Cincinnati Bengals will select. Now, we did a video talking about what happens if we do franchise tag T. Higgins and we give him the exclusive, non-exclusive, and he ends up, getting traded for 2 first-round picks. But today we're just going to be talking about, the typical where we're sitting, where we're picking, and everything like that. So because of our win yesterday, we are picking now at pick 18. A little bit worse than where we sat before, which was pick, 13? So 5 picks down, which it is what it is, Now we kind of have a general landscape of what's going on. And now that every team is done with, all the games are done with, we now know where everyone is sitting. So, for example, we have the Bears, the Commanders, we have the Patriots, Cardinals, Chargers, Giants, Titans, Falcons, Bears, Jets. Then we have the Vikings, Broncos, Raiders, Saints, Colts, Seahawks, Jags. We have us. We have the Packers. We have the Bucks. We have the Cardinals, the Rams, the Steelers, Bills, Eagles, Chiefs, Texans, Lions, Dolphins, Cowboys, Niners, and then we have the Ravens. Right now, obviously, any team that's in the playoffs. So, for example, this whole list right here, obviously, is scheduled to... let me try to get this to work correctly. Okay, a little bit higher up. Okay, I'm not going to be able to do this. Anyway, this whole list right here, this list on the screen right here is scheduled to change depending on who wins or loses. All the way from, all the way from pick 19 all the way to pick 32. Yes, we are one game out of the playoffs. Could have been a playoff team type of pick, which it sucks, but it is what it is. So, yeah, so pick 19 all the way to 32. These are all playoff teams, so depending on who wins or loses, they will move. So, for example, if the Steelers lose in the first round, they will go from pick 23 a little bit higher up, dependingly. So, like, for example, the Houston wins, they'll go above this later than the Steelers, and so on and so on. So, pick 18 gives us a lot of flexibility, I feel like. Gives us a lot of movability, whether or not we want to go ahead and pick at pick 18 or we want to drop a little bit farther down. Now, this mock draft right here has Brock Bowers going pick 17. This is actually the latest I've ever seen Brock Bowers go in a mock draft so far this year. Usually he's always like top 15, top 10, but pick 17 to Jacksonville. This would honestly break my heart just because of the fact that, we're right there and it's like he's on the board and bam, he gets sniped. Now, I'll be honest with you, especially looking at this season in general, there's nothing in me that is looking anywhere else but offensive line for the first round, and it really comes down to these two guys. And I don't really see a reason why you would go with anybody else at this point. So, you have J.C. Latham, and again, when I say anybody else, what I mean is at pick 18. Like, there's going to be guys that I really do like early on in the draft here. Joe Alt from Notre Dame does interest me a lot. He played left tackle in college, but he could, move over to the right tackle position. He's 6'8", 322 pounds. He's a humongous tackle, and that could also work out. Again, you have to move him to the right tackle position, see how that works out. We also have Fuga, who was right tackle in college every single year. 6'6", 334 pounds. He's a big guy. And then the last guy I really do like is actually the Penn State tackle, and it's going to be this guy right here, which again, like I said, you have to look at the fact he played left tackle at college, and whether or not he can transition to right tackle. Not as big as the other guys, but these two guys are probably going to be on the board when we pick. So J.C. Latham out of Alabama here, he played right tackle his whole entire collegiate career. He also played right guard in case we hit him at guard, which is kind of funny. He is more or less a balanced guy across the board. He's a good pass blocker, he's a good run blocker. He is obviously playing in Alabama, so he's from a, big team. He's playing the best competition. It's not like he's playing, nothing pretty much. 6'6", 335 pounds. I don't really see myself seeing any other position drafted in the first round outside of tackle. Now, I said that last year when we took Myles Murphy, right? But we did pick at the end of the draft. And it's very possible at the end of the draft, you kind of just take best player available. And that's kind of what we did. this situation, I think, is a little bit different because of the fact we're picking 18. And we have the board entirely, I feel like, at that position. You can go a star wide receiver, you can go a star corner, you can go a star, whatever. Mims here from Georgia, a little bit more of a pass blocker than a run blocker. He played only right tackle in his collegiate career so far. He's 6'7", 340 pounds. By the way, Latham here is 6'6", 335 pounds. So again, very just absolutely humongous right tackles. Now, we're going to figure out what happens when it comes to Jonah Williams, right? We're going to find out this offseason whether or not we re-sign him, we give him a contract. And with how poorly he played this year, I think we will give him a contract and he will come back. Thing is, though, I think we'll get him back, but we'll get him back on a discount. And I think he'll be a bridge right tackle to a future franchise tackle. So, kind of how the Steelers did it, where the Steelers had a left tackle and then they also drafted Broderick Jones. And Broderick Jones slowly transitioned into the starting job. I think he's transitioned a lot quicker because the starting tackle wasn't good. But my point is, that's kind of how I think we're going to do it. And that gives our right tackle, whoever ends up being, he's not going to 100% be thrown to the wolves right away. And he has a little bit of time to, kind of get going, learn the position, get everything figured out, and then he's going to slowly get some more reps and get in the game. Now, if Jonah Williams, for whatever reason, his second year at right tackle just absolutely blossoms and takes off, that's amazing, right? What we can do then is trade him. We can trade him, get rid of him, get somebody else, and then we saw the right tackle, rookie right tackle. Now, or option 2 is, again, like I said, we go with J.C. Latham here, who played some guard in college, see how he works at maybe offensive guard, but still keep that right tackle spot available. So my point is, I'm taking J.C. Latham here at pick 18. All right, second round. This is where I think we're going to have to decide what's the most important to us. And I think second round every year is kind of that position. Our best draft pick this year, by far, I would say, was Jordan Battle. Strong safety, absolutely monster guy, right? I believe out of Alabama. Yeah, out of Alabama. Strong safety out of Alabama. And our second round pick, DJ Turner, while he hasn't had a fantastic, amazing season, he's playing pretty good this season. He has. And I think what it comes down to is second and third round guys, that's usually where Cincinnati absolutely blossoms. That's where you find yourself T. Higgins. That's why you find yourself Logan Wilson, right? These are guys that we hit it out of the park for. And if we don't get a tight end in the first round, here's our options. First off, Chris Jenkins here. Chris Jenkins is your DJ Reader. He's your DJ Reader replacement, where if you don't get back DJ Reader, this is your guy. He's 6'3", 305 pounds. He's an amazing nose tackle who can pretty much just plug up the hole and do exactly what DJ Reader did. He's from a Big Ten conference with the Michigan Wolverines, and he's exactly what you want in the middle. And again, like I said, that could be a direction we go with. Now you have Brandon Dorless from Oregon. He is less of a DJ Reader and more of a Miles Murphy DJ Reader combo. Not as good in the run defense, but he's more of a pass rusher. He's more of a guy who's going to kind of be like an Aaron Donald-esque. I'm not comparing him in any way to Aaron Donald, but I'm comparing his game to how Aaron Donald plays. So it's very similar to that concept. And then outside of that, we kind of drop a little bit and we get to Wingo, who I do kind of like later on in the draft. More of a edge guy type of thing, or inside guy. But let's go ahead and talk about this position because we have a couple options here. I have talked about to length. I feel like Ja'Tavion Sanders. He's a Texas Longhorns tight end who's 6'4", 243 pounds. And the reason why I like him is because he is a very good vertical threat tight end. Now, I've said many times, and I'll say this again, I don't think this team needs a tight end to win. They do not. I think Tanner Hudson really has shown that this year, where even though we signed Irv Smith in the offseason and we gave him the money we gave him, Tanner Hudson, a practice squad guy, came out of nowhere and really blossomed for our team. And I think he's going to blossom next year as well. You bring back Drew Sample, you bring back Mitchell Wilcox. I think that is kind of the recipe we need. Now, I do agree that we should take a tight end, and I would love to take a tight end. Problem is, though, now you have to start weighing your options. Do you want to spend a second-round pick on a tight end where you might get a bust, and the bust potential with tight ends is very high, let's be honest? Or would you rather go with more of a skill position like wide receiver or go with a potential cornerback? Now, we have Jermaine Burton here, 6 foot tall, 194 pounds from Alabama. We know we're going to lose our receiver, Tyler Boyd. We also know potentially we're going to figure out what happens with T. Higgins. Chuck Sizzle was involved very much in this Browns game today, but outside of that, there isn't really much that we have seen from him this year. So getting ourselves a nice solid slot receiver like Jermaine Burton here could be a great option. Another really great option could be go cornerback here. We have Josh Newton from TCU. And I know there's like a whole thing where, do not draft cornerbacks from TCU. But he's a nice coverage guy. And he's also decent in run defense, which is exactly what we want from our corners and safeties when it comes to loose defense. Why Mike Hilton is so successful for us, because he's a tackler guy. He can play out of the slot and play very, very well. We also have Polk from Washington Huskies here, 6'2", 204 pounds, and so on and so on. So I will say overall wise at this position, there are a lot of different players I feel like we need to start weighing, right? Start going after. Do you want to go with a DJ Reader replacement? Do you want to go with a tight end, knowing that you probably could have, he might not be an instant starter. He might not be an instant impact type of guy. And if I'm being honest here, I'm probably going Chris Jenkins. I'm going for a big guy who can plug the hole and help our run defense. You shut down the run, you're going to start making plays on defense. And that's just simply how it is. Making teams one-dimensional is very, very, very important. Now, going into the third round here, we have a really good running back opportunity here. We have the Texas Longhorns, Jonathan Brooks. Now, what we saw at the end of this season is that Chase Brown is the future, right? He is the guy to talk about. He is the guy who is going to most likely blossom as the number one running back. Joe Mixon has another year on his contract, but he's getting old. And while I still think Joe Mixon is a great player and I think he has a lot of potential, you got to start thinking about the future. And I don't think Travion Williams and Chris Evans is really the future. And I feel like you have to start thinking about another running back opportunity here to put in, put behind the starting guy. Now, the problem is there's not many free agents that I'm really too curious about when it comes to running back position. Now, you might say, well, isn't Derrick Henry a free agent? Isn't Josh Jacobs a free agent? Like, what are you talking about? What I'm talking about is price tag and age, right? If we're going for a running back here, I'm going for a guy who is young and has the explosive ability to really take off, right? I want someone who has a high upside and a high motor. And that's not usually what you're going to find in free agency as much. You can get lucky sometimes and get a crazy player, but most of the time you're not. So that's where you look toward the draft. We took Chase Brown 5th round next year. Now again, we have to weigh our options. What do you want here? Do you want yourself a running back who's going to be a third string guy, potentially, take over for a starting job? Or do you want something else? And there are some options when we go down this list here, like, for example, Tyreek Smith. Tyreek Smith is a great coverage guy, but the one thing that he does lack is height. 5'10", 205 pounds. Now, if you put him in more of a linebacker / safety combo, he's not a bad option. And something that we do need to target in this draft is going to be linebacker. So, here's the thing. What made Von Bell and Jesse Bates so good for us? So good in Lou's defensive scheme. The answer to the question was going against a run support, putting them in the box and shutting down the run. The answer would be correct. And that's exactly what we're lacking right now with Jordan Battle, Nick Scott, and Dax Hill. Which, again, nothing wrong with that. They're going to develop and get better. But if we can get a guy, especially from Georgia, a big college here, get a guy who already has that skill of being able to be put in the box, put it on the outside, and shut down the run, that's exactly what we need right now. So I've said many times about Key Smith and a lot of other guys that you take them, you put them in the box, and if they can shut down the run, you can give yourself a really great upside here. And the same thing here for Barron. I just like the upside a little bit more on Tyke Smith here, but there's a lot of good options at the safety position in this draft, and we need to target this. If we're going to cut Nick Scott, we need to bring somebody else in to replace Nick Scott. So I'm actually going Tyke Smith here. Might be a tad bit early, but I want to get myself a strong safety / linebacker combo that I can have for the foreseeable future. Now, here's our next guy. 6 foot tall, 288 pounds, Howard Cross III. Comes from Notre Dame, which is known to have a great defense. I say that when I'm biased because I love Notre Dame. And he is exactly what I feel like we need for our pass rushing position. At the end of the day, you can never have too many pass rushers. And I've said this many times when it comes to like last year, or sorry, this year I guess, but last season, this season, okay, I'm just going to say this season. This season, when there was a chance to sign the Chargers defensive tackle, I was against it. The reason why I'm against it is not because you can't have too many pass rushers. It's because of the money it would have cost to sign him. This is the opposite. He's a rookie. He's a 4th round pick. You're not spending that much money to sign this type of guy. And he has the upside to be an absolute monster off the edge. So why not go ahead and go after a great defensive lineman here and get some, decent pass rush and help your defense out in, again, more ways than none. You get yourself a strong safety here. You got a DJ Reader replacement to go right next to BJ Hill. And now you're getting yourself a defensive lineman who has the upside of being an absolute superstar. So, again, like I said, it just gives you more and more upside here. And I think that's what we need in this next draft. We hit a lot of home runs in our last draft. Yoshi, Jordan Battle, DJ Turner, Chase Brown, a lot of home runs. Chuck Sizzle to a certain degree. We're going to figure out how he does throughout the next couple years. Brad Robbins, definitely kind of iffy right now, at least. Right now, at least iffy. We'll see if he blossoms in the second, third year, which usually punters take a couple years to blossom. Let's remember that. But obviously, DJ Ivy didn't really get much play time this year, and Miles Murphy has been kind of a ugh. Nonetheless, though, we need upside when it comes to this next draft. We need ourselves a ability to really take off. Now, I have very much been lacking at going after the cornerback position in this draft. And it's definitely something we cannot look away from, okay? There's something we cannot completely avoid because at the end of the day, we're losing Cheeto, right? Cam Taylor-Britt has had injuries. Mike Hilton is getting up there in age. You gotta get someone for the future. And DJ Turner was that guy last year. So now we need someone to replace, that kind of, or not to replace, but I will say to kind of be in that, rotation role. And we have Sebastian Castro here. Now, he's from Iowa, which is, again, like I said, not like a huge, humongous college, but it's still a pretty solid college. He's 205 pounds, 5'11", so a little bit on the shorter side. But again, what did I tell you about Lou's defense, guys? What did I tell you? He's a good coverage guy. He's not playing the best receivers in NCAA, but he's a good run defense player. And that's exactly what we need. Get yourself as many guys who can go in the run game, who can support the run game, and can also cover. You get yourself a crazy strong safety who can be both a linebacker and a safety. He's going to drop because the fact of his height is probably a problem for a lot of teams. And then you get yourself another guy who, again, 5'11", kind of smaller, but can play that run game. You get yourself a great D tackle in this draft, plus a defensive lineman who's a pass rusher. Now you are shutting down this run game, which is amazing. Now let's talk about the 5th round. Second pick in the 5th round here. You got someone like Jaheim Bell here. 6'3", 239 pounds. Very possible you could go with a tight end here. And I really do like the upside of tight ends at this pick. But you could also go with an offensive lineman at the guard position. there's no mystery here. Cordell Volson has not been hitting it that well this year. He's definitely been struggling greatly. So I'm actually okay with taking a guard here at this position and seeing how he could blossom for us and maybe be a replacement and a competition with Cordell Volson. Now at the 6th round pick here, I'm probably looking toward kind of just like, high upside type players. I really do like Mayan Williams here at Ohio State. Had 2 really great years and then kind of did not take off this last year. He is 5'9", 226 pounds, so a little bit smaller of a guy, but still, very doable when it comes to what upside he does give us. Isn't much analytics on him yet. He is actually 15% of mock drafts has us taking him. And I think he could be a nice third-string running back to see what he could do for us at the end of the day. You never know what could happen. Now let's talk about the next position here, which I kind of want to target wide receivers. And there is only 2 wide receivers left in this draft. In real life, there's going to be more left overall-wise. 5'8", I'm not really interested in, and neither am I interested. 6'2", I'm interested in more. I'm just not interested in this wide receiver in general. So I'm probably going to go away from that. I wish they had more guys in there, but it is early for the mock drafts right now. So you're going to see that in every way possible. Now, one tight end I've been talking about very much, and I have been really talking up, is Brant Kuth from Utah. He does lead the tight ends right now going into the 7th round in this position. And I think he could be a really solid tight end for us as a 3rd tight end just to fill in, see what ends up happening. Potentially, again, he could be good. We do have our man Ford here who had a really down year last year, which does very much suck for tight ends who have really great years and then they just kind of fall off. Running back position, we have Carson Steele. Again, 7th round, we're kind of just looking for an upside guy, see what they could do. Most likely they're not going to make the team, even though Poison Ivy this year did make the team. But most likely there's a chance that they won't make the team. And I don't mind going with Dante Kent here from Central Michigan. He's a good in run defense, and he's also a good coverage guy. So let's go with him here. And what did we end up getting? We ended up getting a B. I have not gotten the A yet. I'm waiting to get an A. They gave me an F for Sebastian Castro. I wonder if that's because of his height. Because it wasn't a reach or a pick, according to the number and the pick. It wasn't a reach. I wonder if it's because of his height. Because he's great in run defense, and he's also great in coverage. And that we need more of a run defensive guy, especially with our run game this year being so bad, our run defense versus the run. We need a guy like that who can go against the run. J.C. Latham was an A- for Chris Jenkins. Yeah, I really do like him. Tyke Smith, they gave me a C+. Howard Cross, they gave me a B+. But I really like this mock draft. You get yourself a franchise right tackle, a replacement for DJ Reader next to BJ Hill. You get yourself a good run support safety who, yeah, he's a little small, 5'10", but you put him in the box at linebacker/safety. You give yourself more support there. You take a decent pass rusher, in my opinion, who could really blossom into a great pass rusher in Howard Cross III. Then you take yourself a good run support overall cornerback here, a little bit smaller again. You take yourself a guard to replace Cordell Volson or compete with him. Take yourself a running back as a 3rd-string running back option. Take yourself a really solid vertical threat tight end. And then take yourself a pretty overall decent cornerback who can be good in run support and in the pass game. So I really like this mock draft. I went a little bit different than I normally go, and I think it's a pretty solid mock draft for us. Tell me down below your thoughts and opinions. I'll see you guys next one. Peace.